Welcome to Make Something with me, David Picciuto. I am really excited about this project. Reverend Guitars reached out to me to make a sign for their offices. So we are going to combine woodworking, metalworking, some creative finishes, CNCing, and laser cutting to make a sign for them. This is really cool. Check it. This is a guitar that I've had for a little bit from my favorite guitar company, Reverend, which is located right here in Toledo, Ohio. And they have a pickup line called Railhammer, and they reached out to me to make a sign. So they have this room where they are going to film their YouTube videos about the Railhammer pickup. And they just put up this new wall back here, and then they sent me the logo in an Illustrator format that's going to go back here. The backdrop of this sign is going to be a solid piece of wood, which I have over here. This is walnut, and I just need the top part of this. There's a lot of sapwood in there, so this piece right here is not something I'm going to want for the piece of furniture that I'm going to make in the future. So this is going to make a great back holding part. This is what's going to hold the sign together. This is my planer sled. If you have a board that is too wide for a joiner, this works great. I can use these little wedges in there to take out the wobble, get one side flat, then I can get rid of the sled and do the other side. Shitter's full. So now I'm going to CNC a texture on this background piece to give it a little bit more depth. And this is a trick that I learned from Reverend Guitars a few years ago, is you put masking tape on both surfaces and then you CA glue it on there, and then when you're done you can knock it off and the tape comes right off. It's a great clamping hold down method. So Reverend sent me the logo for their Railhammer pickups here, and I have that open in Illustrator. And the background texture, I don't want it to interfere with the letters here. So I took this, modified it a little bit, and wherever you see this dark area, the CNC is going to route a texture in there. And for that, I am using x-carve desktop. So here, I'm going to create a new file. And I know the width is 10 inches, the height is 13 inches, and the thickness is 3/4 of an inch. Drop in our Illustrator file. I'm going to select that, and then there's this tool here where I can center it. The x-carve desktop has some cool texturing things, so I'm going to hit the texturing toolpath. We have a ball nose bit loaded in the router. That is it's an end mill, but with a rounded on the end, if you know what I'm saying. Our start depth is going to start at 0.01, that's the surface of the board just below it. The max cut depth is 0.18. It can do little scallops if you wanted to. I don't want to do the scallops. I just want straight lines all the way across. So I just have a large max cut length, and then you can set variables so it'll do random things in there. I want nothing random about this, but the randomness allows you to just give it like a hand carved texture, and that is not what I'm going for with this. So then I hit calculate and I can preview it. So I'm going to preview all tool paths, and it's going to show what the CNC is going to do. And as you can see here, it creates these little long scallops anywhere where there is not a logo. And we can export this out as G-code for the x-carve, which we are going to do next. It came out really cool. I don't want to sand too much, but I just want to get a little bit in there to get rid of the little hairs, the little walnut hairs. Now that I got that sanded, I'm going to wet everything down and then sand it again. That's going to raise the grain, because when you use like a water-based finish or a water-based dye, you'll get those hairs back. So I'm just going to wet everything down. I know this is going to sound like a crime, but I am going to dye this piece of walnut black. And the reason I chose this particular piece of walnut, because it was something that was already wide enough that I had here in the shop, and it has the sapwood and then this crack and check in here that's going to be on the back. So it's not going to bother me to dye this black. It might bother you, but where I come from, walnut grows on trees. Trans tint dye that you thin down a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to be honest with you. And I guess use your finger is what Grandma always said. I don't know the proper technique. I don't think it really matters. So I'm going to do one of these numbers. And from my experience, this stuff dries really fast. Now that that is all dry, went over it one more time with the thing, just to make sure it's still smooth. And then 1 or 2 coats of spray lacquer. And the reason for that is, I don't have to give you a reason. I'm going to put 1 or 2 coats of spray lacquer on there. While the lacquer is drying, we're going to cut out the white part and the orange part of the logo over on the Glowforge laser. We are using some super thick 1/4 inch acrylic. This is just as simple as sending this over to the laser and cutting. So we have all of our pieces cut out, and I tore off the protective paper on the back of everything. You probably can't see this because it's clear and invisible, Wonder Woman style, but this is basically the same logo. I'm going to use this as a template to align everything up in here, and that way we get the proper kerning and leading with all the words, and all the spacing is how it should be. So I don't know why I put all the pieces on here, because I have to take all the pieces off now. I'm going to put these little wooden spacers, these little skewers in here. That way, if there's any glue squeeze out, that it doesn't glue the template onto the backing piece. And so it's just lifted up just a little bit. Then drop this into place. I'm constantly lifting up my template to make sure it's not glued to anything. What's that that game where you operate and you can't touch the sides?
Don't wake Daddy.
That is all done. We'll peel off that paper in a little bit. Now we're going to head out into the metal shop and make a frame. Ugh, as I almost kill everybody in the room, out of some angle iron that's going to sit in there. I think that is going to look good. I'm going to try to force the iron to rust to give it that rustic look, that rail hammer look. Now it is time to weld this together. I cut a piece of scrap just so I could have something to check the fit. So I think I need to grind a bevel on here for a place. I know I need to grind a bevel on there for a place for the weld to, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So that came out pretty good. I was very, very happy with my welds and how that came together. Cleaning it really good here because I'm going to try to make it rust. This solution is going to be vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, and salt. I needed that much. For some reason I made that much. Let this sit and dry. I've got a full video on that rusting technique if you want to check that out. Now that this is dry, I'm going to add some boiled linseed oil on here to protect it and seal that in. I might add a coat of wax later once it's all dry, just so it feels better to the touch. Give it a little bit of shine. The boiled linseed oil has dried, so I went ahead and drilled some holes in the back of the frame and then took the protective paper off of the acrylic. This is looking really good. So the next thing I want to do is drop this guy into place and screw it together. So I'm going to add some hanging wire here. That came out really great. It's nice and heavy. It feels, you know what I'm saying? So now it's time to go deliver this to Reverend and install it. Hopefully they give us a little behind the scenes of what goes on over there. And I did this in trade for one of their beautiful bass guitars, which I'm going to use at the end of the video to make the music. Let's go. This is the Reverend bass guitar that I got in trade for making the sign. This is the Mike Watt signature model. And then this is the guitar that I've had for a couple years. Both of these instruments were used to write and record the song that was the background music for this video. I'm not claiming to be any kind of great musician. I just really enjoy making the background music to my videos. I want to thank Seth, Jeff, and the owner Ken Haas from Reverend for this wonderful opportunity. The sign that we made was for their Railhammer line of guitar pickups. You can also buy these separate as well. They gave me a pair of them that I am going to use in a guitar build coming up later this year. No CNCs, just doing a very traditional guitar build, so look forward to that. I know I've been saying for a long time that I was going to put all of these songs into a collection and release them. I'm still working on that. Hang in there. It's all about priorities. I got to pay the bills first. You know how it goes. One of the things holding it up is a lot of these songs that I write, they're only like 60, 90 seconds long. And to release them, they need more parts. I want to add vocals to things. I want to redo a couple things that I don't like about them. Eventually I will. Hang in there, believe in me, and I promise you I will release this. What I love about this project is it combines so many disciplines. We did some traditional woodworking, we did CNCing and laser cutting, some metalworking, some creative finishes. I loved how it all came together. I've never done anything like this before, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. Again, we'll see you next week with a brand new project. Thank you, Reverend. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something.